If you want to understand where Victoria's real estate market is headed in 2026, forget prices, forget sales numbers, watch the rental market because what's happening there right now hasn't happened in a very long time and it's actually kind of crazy. Vacancy rates just hit a 25-year high, rent prices are dropping, and purpose-built rental towers are popping up absolutely everywhere. No matter who you are in this market, how rentals perform is going to impact you. We've had a pretty devastating year in some segments like downtown condos and presales, but overall, Victoria's market has held up fairly well compared to the rest of Canada. For example, in Vancouver, they have thousands of unsold presale condos just sitting empty, gathering dust. We've had a few major projects cancel and several buildings that are struggling to sell, mostly in the West Shore and Bear Mountain. But luckily for us in the island, things never got quite as crazy or as greedy as they did in Vancouver or Toronto. Out there, I think they're going to be feeling the effects for years to come of all this unsold condo inventory. They've just overbuilt way too much, and it's going to put a lot of downward pressure on resale stock as well. In this video, we'll look at why I'll be watching the rental market like a hawk and where everything from condo prices to detached home sales could be in 2026. Thank you so much for subscribing and helping me grow the channel this year. First off, let's look at why rental prices are cooling down. Historically, Victoria's population has been growing at about 1 to 1.5% per year, so we've been absorbing new rentals just about as fast as we can build them, which is why big corporations have put so many more of these purpose-built rental towers into the pipeline. Purpose-built rentals have been a solid investment, and unlike presale condos, they carry a lot less risk for developers, and the financing is easier to get as well. At the end of this year, however, BC experienced a drop in population with 26,000 fewer residents. This is the first drop in 70 years. Now, the data doesn't show where in BC this occurred. I don't think Victoria is shrinking, but until the next census, we won't know. Regardless if this is in Victoria or not, non-permanent resident immigration is slowing down in BC. Provincial and federal immigration policies have shifted, and that is going to reduce rental prices and investor confidence. Secondly, increased supply. We have over 2,000 new rental units coming online in 2026 in Greater Victoria and close to 10,000 units within the next 5 years. Almost every new detached home built in the last 10 years has a rental suite as part of that, and that is a significant amount of new supply. Rental suites allowed many homeowners to take on huge mortgages and buy these homes in the first place. As the vacancy rate climbs, renters get more choice, less urgency, and that urgency shifts onto the landlords who maybe don't want to keep a property empty for more than a few months when the tenant turns around, and they lower their price to get more applicants. We've now seen a 5% decrease year over year in rental rates for the last 2 years. Rental prices are intrinsically tied to the condo market, which is struggling, as so many condos sold in the last few years were to investors who have now vanished and are no longer buying condos. If rental rates continue dropping, then I think it's going to drag the condo market down even further. I went on MLS and looked at titles to see who were the owners of these condos that sold 10% or more under assessed value this year, and at least half of them were numbered corporations, meaning condo investors. Their tenants left, they were bleeding cash, they felt trapped, and decided it was better just to sell at a loss. Unfortunately, real estate as an investment has lost a lot of its luster. In fact, there's been studies showing that young investors are piling money into ETFs. It's passive income. You don't have anyone calling you in the middle of the night about a flood or a broken toilet. And recently, the returns have surpassed real estate. I can't disagree with all the new policies our government has put in place related to land use and tenancy laws. Real estate as your primary, that makes a lot of sense. But as an investment property, the numbers aren't very appealing and the risks are too high. Because we've lost investors who made up such a huge portion of buyers, it will take the condo market now a few years to recover, maybe 2-3 years before all this extra inventory gets absorbed and we start seeing condo prices performing well again. And why is a flat condo market a problem? Unless condo prices pick up again, then thousands of owners can't unlock equity and move up the property ladder, into townhomes and detached homes. We need a strong condo market so first-time buyers can move up that property ladder into other kinds of homes as well, and that's a win for all segments. The good news is that Canada's mortgage foreclosure rate is less than 0.25%, well below the US and UK. There are not mass foreclosures. We are also hitting the 5-year mark from when money was basically free, and a lot of people were warning us about this mortgage renewal cliff, which just didn't seem to materialize. Yes, those facing mortgage renewals this year are paying slightly higher rates than 2021 or early 2022, but it's not going to force anyone into foreclosure. Canadians were stress tested above 5% when they purchased back then, and rates are still well below that. We're going into 2026 with fixed term mortgages hovering just over 4%. And I think that number will remain throughout the year. The overnight rate is 2.25%, and I think the Bank of Canada will be holding that number or thereabout for the rest of the year as well. So my predictions for 2026 are tied largely to how the rental market performs. If the vacancy rate climbs another 1% and rental prices drop 5 to 10%, then we're going to see a lot of small-time investors exposed and homeowners who rely on rental suites feeling the pinch. There are a lot of developers selling detached homes for $1.5 million, and the reason historically these sales have been able to happen is the rental suites. A 2-bedroom suite renting for $2,500 a month can account for up to $500,000 of that sale price. Victoria is still very desirable for our climate and our economy, and even if BC experiences a net loss in population, it doesn't necessarily mean Victoria will as well. There's a lot to be optimistic about in Victoria. The TELUS Ocean Tower is completing in 2026. People are still investing in the city and downtown. Colwood has been innovative and successful in attracting new family doctors. Victoria had a record number of tourists. Over 1 million people visited the city this year. All these new rentals, in particular downtown, will eventually bring downtown businesses back. I don't think we'll see the full recovery within the year though, but it will happen soon enough. Here's my predictions. First one's always easy. Home ownership costs are going to continue to surge. Property taxes, utility rates, water rates, we're all looking at double-digit increases in 2026. Strata fees, insurance fees, repair costs, nothing is getting cheaper in Victoria. And if you're an investor with a cash flow negative investment already, it's just more pain you're going to have to bear. For condo prices, we're looking at a nice steel and concrete building downtown like the Era, for example, which is now selling below replacement costs. It looks like a great buy. I think we're probably at the bottom here, and condo prices will remain flat. It's a very advantageous time to be in the market for a condo, and you can be aggressive on price and hold out for that top floor or corner unit. I much prefer the resale projects I see out there compared to new builds. Something built between 2010 to 2023, for example, they have established stratas, any growing pains have been sorted out, and you know exactly what you're buying. My prediction for the townhome market, this depends which type of townhome we're talking about. The old 1970s to 1990 units will be hit with large special assessments and rising costs. They're all full of poly B and asbestos and very expensive to work on. And the new multiplex stacked units, I think they're overpriced, and personally, I would never buy a townhome without parking, which many of them don't have. Townhomes built from 2000 to 2020 or so, these will continue to be in high demand and go up in value. Detached homes, I think detached homes are going to have an excellent year. In particular, anything renovated or turnkey, or even anything that needs a minor refresh, such as paint and flooring. I think the ones that will struggle to sell are very outdated and too big, such as 4,000 square feet plus. These are monumental renovation projects these days. The luxury market, I think, is going to do very well with a lot of relocations to Victoria. And I think people will be more conservative when running the numbers on what a rental suite can actually get you when they're looking at buying a detached home. Appraisals matter again. I've heard a lot of stories about appraisal gaps and shortfalls, particularly in the condo or the presale construction market. So if you're writing an offer, don't skip the appraisal and be prepared to renegotiate if it does come up short, and leave a lot of time during your condition removal period for this. Where do you see Victoria's market headed in 2026? Overall, the stable mortgage rates and slower pace of transactions are going to make for a very healthy market. There's a lot less room for mistakes, less urgency to make the wrong decision and buy junk like we saw in 2021. The good ones will still sell fast and the garbage will sit. I think that's really going to be the name of the game and the theme once again. Please let me know in the comments below where you think things are headed. Thanks so much for watching.